Ryan Satkoviak. It's the middle of June. I'm old. Clinton, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It's wasn't too bad of a Monday. It's getting pretty muggy and warm here in Columbus, so outside is not as fun as it was the past few weeks. But other than that, pretty good day at work. I'm excited to talk a little bit of Big Ten or slash stocks tonight with you. How are you doing? Tell the people, Ryan, what you told me before
Holy fuck,
the
man.
start of the show.
So I have been 34 for 3 days. And today,
Happy
I,
belated birthday, Ryan.
well, thank you. This, okay, well, I'll tell it in chronological order. I had the audacity to lift weights today. And my back locked up. And this happens like 3 to 4 times a year because, as my old CI said, you have a rip roaring case of back not strong enough syndrome, which is true. And it's hurtful still, Tucker. Thank you for that. But this has been one that has not happened with such ferocity in a very long time. And I'm sitting here in front of you with a heating pad on my back because that is the only thing that is preventing me from seizing into a fit of uncontrollable back spasms right now. So that's fun. Also, I have to go to the dermatologist every year because both of my parents have skin cancer and they were doing a skin check today. And the PA who's doing it starts looking at my shoulder and she's like poking at something. And I'm like, what? That's an ingrown hair. And she's like, this looks like a basal cell. I'm like, fuck me. So I had a potentially cancerous lesion taken off my shoulder today as well. They didn't tell you that part. So that's how 34 is going for me so far.
That is a non-pleasurable past, what, 24, 12
Well, no,
hours for you?
and it's just funny too because Sam's out of town today. So she called me about an hour ago and I'm like, how bad is it that potentially being told I have skin cancer is the second worst part of my day? That's where we're
Yeah,
at.
as your back puts it out of your mind.
It's fine though.
Well,
I
let's keep
feel
fingers crossed that that
um,
is nothing
whatever, dude. Just
of
fucking kill
dire
me.
need.
Just fucking kill me right
How
now.
the
I
fuck
gotta
am I
talk.
supposed to do this show without you? I don't want to
You'll
talk by myself.
you'll figure it out.
I'll have to hire a Redcast Rob and eat egg sandwiches all the time.
Listen. If you just sent him eggs every month, I'm sure he would do it for free.
Listen, I will call Dale.
Dale would definitely do it for
Dale's
free.
the man. Like, Dale, I need you. We need some, his historical knowledge would be phenomenal for this show.
See, if you tapped him though for anything more than like our thrice yearly talks with him, you'd have to find some kind of NIL funds for him though. You can't
I
take up
would.
that. You can't take up that much of that man's time.
Yeah, Dale is the goat. I told him that the other day. He's actually, guys, Dale's fantastic. He posts, I would say, it's probably been in 3 or 4 of his articles as of late. He is quoted inside the pylon in there. He is a phenomenal human being, and we greatly appreciate him. And that's why he's probably the most esteemed guest on this show.
It's true. We have a
So
lot of good guests who I love, but Dale Bliss.
Dale might be number one.
Dale's a
Number
real
one in our hearts and number one in our Oregon research.
always number one on the scoreboard.
Not in the Rose Bowl, they weren't.
Oof. Anyway, moving on.
All right, guys, tonight we are talking stocks. So whether you're buying, you're selling, or you're holding, or you're just Clinton who just bought a bunch,
I can't prepare this time.
our stock watch is back. We hope last year we did, I think, twice. Maybe we can be better this year, Ryan. We do a little first week stock and then maybe the end of the month is, I think, what we were trying to aim to do last year, like end of September, end of October. Stock watches there, whether we're buying, selling, or holding on those, and kind of incorporate that more into our fall stuff. But before we get to the stocks, Ryan, let me shout out, guys, if you're on the socials, check us out. Instagram, X, ITP, CFB. Give us a follow there. We have now eclipsed 1,100 followers on Twitter. We would love to see those numbers reach there on the YouTube and our podcast platform. So if you're listening, please check us out on Instagram and Twitter, but please go check us out on your preferred podcast platform and YouTube and hit subscribe and follow to help us continue growing the show. And leave us a 5-star review if you like us. If you don't, then don't put a bad review because we don't want one. All right, to the next part. Ryan, over the weekend, as we know, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, is a eventful place at many different times. So I saw something that floated around from On3 that was retweeted by multiple different people that we follow, and it caught my attention. And in the theme of this time last year, we were doing, I believe, this exact week, our rivalry shows and talking about those. So this happened to be a post by On3 asking, of these five, like how would you rank them in terms of the best rivalry to worst of that top five? So Ryan, my question is you tonight. I want you to rank these after I tell you who they are. Sound like a good plan?
That's great. Fantastic.
Okay. Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Auburn, Notre Dame, USC, Miami, Florida State, and OU in Texas. What's your 1 to 5?
See, this is just like
Because I think a little bit of this was clickbaity from
Well,
On3 by
I don't.
including one of those in
Which one do you think was clickbaity by including it in?
Miami, Florida State.
See, but that's what like my overall point is. I think your answer to this question is going to depend directly on what part of the country you live in,
Very true.
because I very deeply happen to care about the Notre Dame USC rivalry, and I think like college football traditionalists can willingly admit like the historical significance of it, particularly like how it started and how it continued throughout multiple eras of college football and has up until now withstood so many different episodes of realignment until it's probably now going to die. That's not my way of saying I think Notre Dame USC is the best, but I would also anticipate that someone from like Florida, for example, probably wouldn't give two shits about that rivalry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly.
Whereas, like, I don't really care about Miami, Florida State, particularly since, aside from like 3 times the last 15 years, Florida State has been just kind of meh, and Miami has been ass since 2002.
So Ohio State broke them,
Yeah. So,
and they joined a real conference,
well,
not the Big
yeah,
East.
right. But I think, I mean, if we're just going to use television numbers as kind of our barometer here, it's Ohio State, Michigan. Like, I think that transcends everything. That's just
I agree. I concur.
above all. And I think even fans of some of the, I'm sure you'd get some Alabama and Auburn fans who'd be like, no, where's better, blah, blah, blah. I mean,
That article, or it's not that article, that post did draw that, yes, saying that Bama and Auburn was way better.
you do have to acknowledge that a dude from Alabama literally poisoned part of Auburn's campus. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Now, though, you can say Ohio lawmakers are trying to make it a felony to plant the flag at midfield of the horseshoe because they're all a bunch of soft babies.
So should Ohio State plant the Ohio flag if they beat Michigan?
Well, you
this year?
would have to beat Michigan sometime this decade to be able to do that.
That's right. That's right. All right. So OSU, UM is 1. Who's your number 2?
I'm probably going to go Alabama, Auburn number 2. And I think it's closer than most of the country would be willing to admit. That there's been some incredible finishes to that game.
We're just 2 years ago, right? When
the fourth
they had to
and-
fucking
fourth and
throw
a
a
million.
Hail Mary on 4th and 31, and he hits him in the back of the end zone for a touchdown.
That ends up being a playoff saving play. I mean, I
Yep.
get that nothing really comes from it because they got run over by Michigan in the Rose Bowl, but there's no Alabama in the playoff if that play doesn't happen. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you have that. You have.
Do you
the
remember
kick game.
who would have been in that place? Do you remember?
Oh God, I don't remember.
I don't either. It wasn't. I don't think it was another Big Ten team. Who was sitting there waiting? That would be something we'll have to check on.
Would have been Ohio State.
I mean, Ohio State was right there. That was a 2-loss Ohio State that year, I believe.
Oh yeah, because they lost. Wait, no, who else did they lose to that year?
What year? What year
This
was
was
this?
just 2 years ago.
2023.
It was 2023.
2023.
Anyways,
Anyways, continue your rankings while I look those
Well,
up.
I just have no recollection of who
I know
finished outside
it's
of
been
the top
so long
four.
ago. Yeah.
I mean, you had Texas and Washington in there as well, so I mean, it could have literally been anyone. Because Oregon had lost twice to Washington, so I don't think it would have been them.
Florida State. That was the Jordan Travis injury.
That's right.
Would have been Florida State,
Oh my God.
and then Georgia, and then Ohio State.
Completely whitewashed that Florida State team out of my brain. All right. Well, thank
Well, they
God.
haven't been very good in the past 10 years, so
No, but
they had one good
also,
year.
could you? Michigan might have beat them by 80. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that would be my number
You'd have gotten
two.
Georgia in over Florida State there.
You might have. You might have. Number three, I'm going to go Notre Dame USC. That's partially my personal bias talking, but also it is the longest intersectional rivalry in college football. That's pretty cool. Who are the other two? Florida, Miami, or Florida State, Miami,
At,
and who was the other?
and OU in Texas, Red River.
Oh, see, I don't particularly like the rivalry games that do neutral site because on campus is better, but also that's just such a unique atmosphere. So I'm going to
Yeah.
give that the slight edge. Honestly,
The
give me
50-50 split on the field is fantastic.
if you take my Notre Dame bias out of it, I'd probably have that 3 and then Notre Dame SC 4 and then Florida State Miami 5.
Okay. I was Ohio State, Michigan 1, OU, Texas 2, Bama, Auburn 3, Notre Dame, USC 4, and then Miami, FSU 5. So a lot of people were discussing and asking why is Miami and Florida State on that graphic when there are other rivalries. So before I name some of the other ones, Ryan, if you were to eliminate Miami, Florida State, what would be one that you would replace it with? Because there's some pretty good ones on there that they didn't list that I feel like I could see going over them.
I mean, the cocktail party with Georgia and Florida is a good one. I mean, there's a bunch of cool regional rivalries that I just don't particularly care about. And I think, honestly, Florida State and Miami, if we're being honest with each other, has probably fallen into that more regional type, considering what both of these teams have been most of the last 10, 15 years. Without thinking about it too much, you put the Apple Cup in there, or the Egg Bowl. I think I meant to say Egg Bowl, but you
Egg
also
Bowl,
put the
yep.
Apple Cup in there. I would, if I were to replace that, my top two would either be the cocktail party or the Egg Bowl.
Okay. So in one article I read, the rivalry I'm about to name was the number one overall rated rivalry in their article, and it's Army Navy.
Oh, see, that's just one. It's like I get the historical significance of it. I just don't particularly care.
Yep.
Like the football season's basically over by that point. It's a meaningless game.
Yep. So that one
this might be a hot take. I very rarely watch that game.
I don't. I'll
Like,
tune in, but
if I'm literally bored to tears and have nothing else to do, and I'm like, I just need to watch some kind of football. It's the second weekend of December. Where the fuck is the football? Then I'll watch it. The playoff being a week later now kind of helped alleviate
Certainly.
that itch this year.
Yep. If I had to put a 5, it would have been Florida State. Even as a kid playing the old NCAA games, I loved Gators Seminoles. I think it's a great matchup. People were saying that they feel like FSU and Miami made it because of how close the rivalry overall record is. It's 36-33 in favor of Miami. So it's an extremely competitive rivalry, even though it's competitive when they've both been booty cheeks for the past better part of 20 years. The other ones mentioned USC, UCLA. You got the Egg Bowl, and then I said Florida, FSU. I guess you could go Oregon State. That's not as overly competitive, but Oregon State spikes them every once in a while. You can get smaller. We got to put what was the bag of nails? Indiana and Purdue. Got to put them in there.
The Oaken Bucket.
Okay, bucket.
I think the old Bag of Nails is a restaurant.
It is. After I said that, I was very average food, by the way.
No, it's just USC UCLA is a good example. Where it's like, that's a great rivalry, but also who outside of either of those fan bases generally cares?
Yep. You're one that's sad. You get the backyard brawl, Pitt and West Virginia, but again, that's more regional, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Penn State and Pitt could be one if they would play each other more often, and Pitt would actually not be afraid, even though they say they're not.
West Virginia doesn't even really play that often anymore.
No, they've backed off. Yep. I think Marshall and West Virginia play more than that does. Mm-hmm. That's not an overly interesting game. Anyways, so that's just kind of where I wanted to kick us off tonight. Get your thoughts. You and I are pretty similar in thoughts on that. Again, rivalries is what makes this fun. And thankfully, all of those that we just listed are all in the same conference. So when this shit hits the fan in 10 years, we will hopefully still have those.
Well, and I think
maybe Notre Dame USC. We'll see.
Now that we're having this conversation out loud, it makes sense. As much as I'm literally not having fun admitting this right now. It makes sense why TV execs don't give a shit about regional rivalries and are just realigning the sport, because all these rivalries that we are listing are like, what's the common theme? They're all teams of some level of national relevance. So we're talking about games that have not just like bragging rights picture, but also have significance in the
Hmm.
greater national championship race. Whereas I'm sitting here dismissing the Liberty Bell rivalry as just a game between two Southern California football teams. Like, that's a good ass rivalry. Those are fun games to watch. That's not
Hmm.
me saying I don't enjoy watching those. I don't enjoy observing that level of hatred from a distance. Those are fun games to watch. Anyway, that was my point. But
So,
I get why they're going. I don't like it, but I get why some Joe Schmo dipshit in a fucking sea-level suite is sitting there being like, "Do we really need this football game?"
yeah. I mean, I go back to even I always enjoyed watching Michigan Notre Dame, Michigan State Notre Dame.
I do miss
Those
Michigan
are
Notre
fun
Dame. I
games.
do. That was, yeah. I miss Michigan Notre Dame. Very, very.
Which one's coming back first, Sparty and Notre Dame?
I think Sparty Notre Dame play next year.
Could be every year. Notre Dame, get the ACC trash off your schedule. You can stay independent, just playing
Well, like
more
I
Big Ten
said,
teams.
give it 5 years. There's going to be a 40-team Super League, and they're going to have some rendition of it. So
Good.
everyone, be
We,
patient.
we need it.
It's literally coming. We can fucking clip this, bookmark it, pin it to our fucking Twitter page, and in 2032, when the Super League is here, I told you 7 years ago it's coming.
Well, before we get into our true stocks, I'm giving a stock down on this, just a whole entire playoff expansion, because we're going to lose, because of the Big Ten and SEC, we're going to lose our battles of Ohio State, Georgia, and Ohio State, Bama before we even get them, because the Big Ten's going to push them away if the SEC doesn't go to 9 conference games, and the SEC said if they go to 9 conference games, they're not going to play those games. So we're not going to get those games, which is a real bummer, because we might get them in the playoff. In the beginning of the regular season, when you get that opening weekend matchup, you're not going to get that. We're going to get more Alabama, Kennesaw State, and Ohio State and Grambling. Beautiful football.
Let's just stop playing football games, and we'll just make it a talent accumulation thing. And whoever is number one in the 24/7 talent composite on September 1st, you are the national champion. Congratulations.
That would be so depressing. Oh
I mean,
my
that's
God.
what people are arguing for when they're talking
Yeah.
about these who deserves to be in the playoff. They're like, well, who would be favored on a neutral field? That's literally what they're arguing for, is Vegas
Mm.
power rankings that are based entirely off of talent composites and recent trends.
Well, I think Alabama would have been favored any which way you could cut it against Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, and they still
Yeah,
lost.
well,
So here we are.
that's what the people who actually like football are saying.
Yeah.
The people who are fucking stargazers are sitting there humping their computers saying, well, if Alabama would be favored by 14 points over Indiana, why aren't they in the playoff?
Nope.
Just go sniff some glue somewhere else, guys.
Why
Jesus
do we
Christ.
play the games? Why do
Yeah,
we play the
go
games then?
go sit in your own basement, sniff your own glue, and leave us to watch football and enjoy what's actually happening.
enjoy it.
Fuck, it's not. This doesn't have to be that.
All right. Let's get to the center focus of tonight's episode, the stock report. So, guys, Ryan and I decided Ryan, I believe, has 6 stocks. I have 5. We'll see if we overlap on any of them. I'm going to bet we go no overlap, Ryan. I think we have 0 overlap on this. We usually cross over, but at least by 2.
We
But
might,
I'm saying we're under.
dude. I don't know. We might have one.
There's
have-
one that I potentially think could happen, but I still don't think we cross over.
We might honestly, Clinton. I'm being completely honest with you. We might have 3 of the 5 same.
Oh my God.
I
That would be
lit-
totally us for great television and radio.
I actually put effort into this because I could not do anything this afternoon because it hurt too much to get off the couch.
He was forced to sit and write and read.
I was
His back hurt
literally
too much.
laying on the couch with the same heating pad on my back. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna figure some shit out here.
All right. Well, let's kick us off then, Ryan. What's your first stock?
I am buying the Nebraska wide receiver room in the context of an overall Nebraska offensive improvement. So I guess I didn't talk about that on this show. I guess it was when I did the Notre Dame preview for Gridiron a couple weeks ago. I kind of talked with Brendan about how Notre Dame has progressively gotten better at recruiting receivers out of the portal. I think we can say the same thing for Nebraska. I liked what they did with Isaiah Nayer and Jamal Banks. That felt like a situation though where you were taking guys who were more in Nayer's case. I know there was injuries that kind of knocked him down the totem pole at Texas, and then they kind of portal recruited over him. But that felt like a situation where it's here's some guys who were producing as I actually don't remember what Banks was in the Wake Forest offense, but guys who were more quote unquote accessory pieces at their previous stop, where maybe if they become more of feature pieces, there can be some success there. And as it turns out, giving a guy who's not good enough to be a number one guy at Wake Forest more snaps at Nebraska does not automatically mean he's going to be good enough to be a number one at Nebraska. Funny how that works. But I really like the Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter additions combined last year for 86 catches, 1,300 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Again, I get Cal is ACC, not fantastic competition, but Dane Key in that Kentucky offense playing SEC competition with that booty cheeks passing game, those are some impressive numbers. Key's a big body dude. I think that's going to be a huge target for Rayola in this offense. Those are two. Key, at least, I think, has number one upside. I don't know how much about Hunter in that regard, but if you can get him to be a number two in that offense, when you already have Fedone coming back, I believe, that's that's a nice little trio of passing options for Dylan Rayola. So I am buying. So I guess how I would phrase this is I'm buying the Nebraska passing offense. We'll
Yeah.
phrase it that way.
And you still have Ja'Cory Barney there. Sorry, I was not ignoring you. I was trying to pull up on my phone so that
Oh,
my
no, you're
computer
good.
didn't
You're
go
good.
slow.
No, you're good.
Our Google Doc. You have Ja'Cory Barney back, who was a freshman last year. 55 catches, 447 yards. No TDs, but almost 500 yards and over 50 receptions for a freshman. That's better than anything Purdue had last year, and outside of Max Clare. So impressive. They got a lot of size too, right? Dankey's 6'3". And Isaiah Hunter, I think, is also he's 6'2". And then I think Barney has some size to him, or
He's
one of the other ones
6
have.
foot, 6
Yeah.
foot, 170.
So some good options there, and hopefully they hit the portal hard with O line. So I like that. I like that there. So why don't you do a double dip then, since you've got 6?
Okay, I am selling Michigan as a playoff contender. I feel like we are falling into this same trap. And what by I mean we, I mean the royal we, not us, because I think
Yeah.
you're kind of in the same boat as me on this one, where we were sitting here a year ago and you see all these preseason rankings about Michigan's a top 10 team. Look at all the talent they have on their defense. Surely their offense can't be this bad. And it was worse than anyone expected it to be. And I that's I bloviate a lot. I am freely willing to admit that, but I think the one thing I kind of hit on the head heading into last year was I think Michigan is going to be a lot worse than people expect, and I don't think they're going to be in the playoff conversation. And I sit there looking at some of these rankings, and I'm seeing Michigan in playoff brackets, projected playoff brackets again, and it's like, what did they add this offseason that gives you that much confidence that they are going to be able to take a huge step forward from what did they finish the regular season? 7-5 to 10-2 with that schedule? They don't have any wide receivers. Their best pass catching threat is on the Bears now. Their 4 best defensive players are in the NFL. Their defense should still be good. It's going to take a step back. Is their offense really going to take that big of a step forward to be a +3 on the win margin? Like, there's got to be some level of concern at the quarterback room because they went out and pulled another quarterback transfer. I think Mikey Keene missed the entire spring because of injury. So I don't know how much of a possibility he's going to be early in the season. So you're riding or dying with Bryce Underwood, who's never thrown a college pass, as heralded as he is as a recruit, as talented as he seems to be as a prospect. That's fantastic. As we talked about last week on the quarterback show, I'm not going to buy the hype until I see it with my own two eyes. And he could surely come out and surprise. And if Bryce Underwood is as good as they say, he has a Trevor Lawrence style freshman year, okay, then I can see it. But that is a huge leap of faith to take right now, and I am not ready to take that. So Michigan, I am out, fully out on as a playoff contender right now.
And even I don't know who they play week 1, but even week 1's a not impressive, right? Like it's Oklahoma. You're looking at what he does against Oklahoma
Hmm.
to see what this team can do. I fully believe that Bryce Underwood can go beat the shit out of some MAC school or FCS school.
New
That's fine.
Mexico. New Mexico under the
They
lights to open the season.
they will clobber New Mexico. But when they go to Norman, Oklahoma,
Under the lights.
that's going to be a tough test. An SEC country.
Against a team that is, with Brent Venables, make no mistake about it, he is on a scorching hot seat this season. They were awful last year, and they have gone all in on the money cannons to be better this year. Brought in a new offensive coordinator, brought his quarterback with him, pried a running back away from Cal, which I mean, I guess
a
may
stud.
or may not be hard to do. But you know, there was some money that went into that one.
Yeah.
But
And not
they
only
should
Venables is back to calling defensive plays.
Mhm.
He's taking that mantle back for himself. We know he's a great defensive play caller.
Mhm.
Can he handle it, both with head coach and DC? We'll see. But that's not an easy game. And I know you don't listen to Joel Klatt. I needed something to listen to today, so I tuned into his. It wasn't a hot seat episode, but he called it like some type of like a target episode. And when he got to Oklahoma, he said it's not an SEC game; it's Oklahoma Michigan that is an extremely important game for Venables to get
Oh, sure. Yeah.
if this season is going to go well for him and him to keep his job.
Well, yeah, because that'll be a benchmark game for both teams that you look in at what happens in that game. I mean, that's going to set one team up for a huge springboard run into a conference schedule. The other team, I mean, especially you look at goddamn Oklahoma's got a brutal conference schedule.
That's what he said. He said you win that game, you build confidence, and all of a sudden that schedule in the SEC looks a little less daunting. But you lose it, and you're in big trouble.
Oh, sure, yeah, because you're playing Auburn, who should be better. You got Texas, who should still be really good. You're at South Carolina the week after you play Texas. That's going to be a good team again. Then you host Ole Miss. That's going to be a good team again. Then you're at Tennessee. That should be another good team. Then you have a bye. Then you're at Alabama. Then you got Missouri. And then that's a fucked up conference schedule. Jesus. So when when SEC fans laugh when Big Ten fans are like, we play a Big Ten schedule, that's why they laugh, because no one in the Big Ten is playing that kind of schedule. Like, let's be fucking real with each other. No one in the Big Ten is playing that kind of a schedule. That is a messed up conference schedule.
Maybe Purdue did last year.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. But
When you're one of your worst teams does it,
when
it's
you are
laughable.
when you are that bad, everyone is a tough game.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, Michigan's schedule too. I mean, it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. Sure, you get probably the 4 worst teams in the Big Ten before you play Ohio State, but at Nebraska's not going to be easy. Good
Without
for
your
Michigan.
coach.
Without your coach, good for Michigan that it's not going to be a night game at least. But then, I'm not ready to put anything into Wisconsin. But then you're at USC. It's another long road trip. Then the week after that, you got Washington. Those are 4 potentially losable games. We'll call 3 potentially losable games. I don't know.
It's the same thing on the other side for Michigan. If you lose the Oklahoma game and if you lose it convincingly, you could spiral already.
And it's not even that, but like if you lose that Oklahoma game, you basically have maybe one mulligan for the rest of the season, and then you're out, because this isn't a schedule that you can go 9-3 and be a playoff team in.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can maybe go 10-2 and be a playoff team if the 2 losses are close, but you get your ass kicked by Oklahoma and you get your ass kicked by Ohio State, and then your best win is at USC. You might get Miami'd.
Yeah, and a team that's going to want revenge on you because they should have beat you last year, USC. They choked it away. They're going to want their shot, and you got to go to their place to get it this year. So see what happens.
Yep.
I do agree with you. I think that's not what I had, but a stock down or I'm selling. I wouldn't have bought any of it to begin with, because I'm also on the trend of I'm not on the Michigan train at this time. I'm very much with you. I want to see. I think Underwood could be a star. It's not a knock against him. It's just what's the pieces you have. I just saw a post today that they're saying Justice Haynes is going to be he's already the best running back in the Big Ten. I'm like, he transferred from Alabama because he couldn't play.
He played a fair amount.
A little bit, but not to the extent of the other backs that they had. He had 400 yards last year. I already looked at his stats. It's not like he didn't. He rode the pine, but he did not do anything substantial. So, he looks great in the video you posted of him jumping over hurdles and running up a hill.
I was gonna say,
that's fantastic.
Anyone looks good in that.
He looks jacked. That's awesome. I could put on tight clothes and go do hurdles and look that good.
To be fair, Clinton, His stats were only what they were because they had a running back playing quarterback.
That is true.
He was second on their team in running backs, and
But to already grant him without playing a game that he's the
no,
best in
no,
the Big Ten, that's
I
a bit
agree.
asinine.
I agree. I think that's a little bit of an overreaction, but
We lost some good backs in the Big Ten last year, but we also brought back quite a few in this league.
no, for sure. Like I like Justice Haynes. I like God
I think Marshall's
yes,
the
Jordan
better
Marshall.
piece
Thank you.
behind
I was
him.
going to say that's the second time in like 4 weeks I forgot what his name is. I like both of those. I think that's a great 1-2 punch, but I don't necessarily want to litigate the entire Michigan offense. We have all offseason to do that. But outside of those two guys, it's like sure maybe the offensive line's better, but you still don't have any wide receivers. Like, please be serious here.
Yeah.
You didn't have receivers last year, and that contributed as to why your passing attack was garbage. Putting a really good quarterback in, a potentially really good quarterback in there, does not help you if you still have guys who cannot get open and get separation.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
First one for me, as I said, guys, I am all buying, other than I guess you could say I was kind of selling the playoff earlier with my frustrations there. First one for me is I'm buying more Michael Kamara stock. Phenomenal year last year. And I think he played a little bit of DT, but mostly on the edge for Indiana last year. If you look at his PFF grade, he has 86.4 PFF grade. He had 10 sacks, man. That was second only to Mateo Uyunglele, who had 10.5. 18 QB hits, 68 quarterback pressures, and a 17% pass rush win rate. He anchors the Indiana defense and will be an absolute key to this team if they're going to get through a tougher schedule in 2025 in order to get back to the playoff. And then I wanted, they've got 4 guys listed in PFF's top 200 for next year's draft class, and Kamara is currently their highest at 33. So I say there's stock to be bought for him because I still don't think anybody respects Indiana enough on a national level. I think we do because we cover them, and Indiana fans do. But there are numerous Big Ten schools other of those fans don't respect Indiana. This is a stud player, and he's a game changer. I think what he needs help with is he needed more depth this year, and we'll see if they have that because they're going to definitely need the depth. They were able to skate by last year because of the easiness of the schedule, but this year's harder, and you're going to need more depth to be able to get through a Big Ten run here. And I think this young man is an absolute stud. I mean, if he's sitting 33 right now, Ryan, he's listed as an edge rusher. He has a big season. He's going to be a top 20 pick. When's the last time Indiana had a top 20 pick? When's the last time Indiana had a first-round pick? He's got a huge chance.
Was Antoine
huge
Randall
chance.
a first-round pick?
Huge chance for them. But it's been a long time, right? Any IU fans out there, you're listening, tweet us live. Give us a comment live here. When's the last time you guys had a first-round NFL draft pick?
Hold on. I'm going to Wikipedia.
All right, I'll start with. Oh, you already got it up. It's quick.
No, I'm looking at his Wikipedia position page. It's not. Antoine Randall was a second-round pick in 2002.
The last Indiana Hoosier player to be selected in the first round of the NFL draft was Thomas Lewis, a wide receiver in 1994.
Jesus. I remember what I was doing in 1994.
Yeah, I was sucking on a tit getting milk.
Jesus Christ.
Actually, I wasn't truthful. My mom lied to me. I thought I was breastfed. I was bottle fed. So that's what's wrong with me. Anyways, so that's a long time, man. That's 31 years. You're into the third decade without a guy in the first. And they've got a chance for 2 because...
that'd be crazy. They could have 2.
Yeah, Surratt. Talking about him.
I was talking about another guy.
You're going to say Pons?
No. He's too small. He's not going to be a first round.
Oh, Mendoza.
That's my next buy.
So I think they had, maybe I misspoke, maybe it's 6 in the top 100 because Mendoza's in there. But yeah, they said Surratt on PFF, I think might be like, he's a top 5 receiver for them in this next class. Kamara, you had Mendoza, you had Pons, and then I'm blanking on the safety's name. So they had 6 in the top 200. Anyways, so your next buy is Fernando Mendoza. All right. Why are you buying it, Ryan?
I love the physical tool set. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be any sort of quarterback guru or a film junkie or someone who sits here and fancies.
But you know who is? Curt Cignetti.
Yeah, there you go.
Google him. He develops quarterbacks.
All he does is win. Google him. I'm banking on here a couple of different things here. One is the year-to-year improvement he made between his first season as a starter at Cal and his second season as a starter. I thought there was a very good improvement there. I'm also banking on Jesus, how did that get stuck under my watch? I'm banking on the fact that they just had a borderline first team all Big Ten guy at quarterback who played the entire season without an ACL. As far as I am aware, Fernando Mendoza has two functioning ACLs and is not battling any injury right now. So that is definitely a.
What you did know, he doesn't have a UCL in his throwing elbow.
Oh, that'd be a
No, I'm just
bummer.
kidding.
That'd be a bummer.
Uh,
Well, you can have one in his non-throwing arm. That doesn't really matter a whole lot. Just don't do any of the left-handed Mahomes nonsense. But no, I think you kind of touched on what they're already bringing back at the receiver position. Bringing in some guys through the portal on the O-line. The O-line should be good again this year. Still should be pretty deep at the running back room. That's going to be a very good Indiana offense again. And I'm excited to see. This is no disrespect to Curtis Rourke, but and maybe this was the ACL that was contributing. I feel very confident in saying it was the ACL contributing to it as well. Not exactly the most fleet of foot or athletically gifted individual. Fernando Mendoza is a little bit more, not that he's a burner or running, but more athletic a little bit than Curtis Rourke.
yeah, and
Little bigger arm.
the one thing that I think helps make this a more positive buy is the experience he already has at the Power 4 level.
Sure. Yep.
Playing in the Pac-12 and in the ACC last year. I know Cal wasn't great, but Curtis Rourke had to step up from the MAC and coming off injuries.
Well, I was
So
going to say, you have to think, too, Curtis Rourke's 2023 season was almost entirely missed due to the ACL injury. What did he play, like 2 games or something like that in 2023?
when he tore it,
No, the year before he transferred.
he missed. No, he tore it at the end of 22, and he came back and he started the game against San Diego State. They took him out of that game. We played the backup next game. He might have missed a couple, but he didn't miss a majority of the season.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He had 300 attempts. Okay, my bad.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, he played 11 games. Oh, that's right. He got hurt at the end of the year. Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, so he came back, after like 8-9 months after the ACL injury?
Yep.
So he played 2023 on a compromised leg already. Anyway, whatever. That's neither here nor there. Oh, because he threw 11 touchdowns. That's probably why I was. Anyway, whatever. But yes, I'm buying Fernando. We just went on a diatribe there that did not need to happen. But yes, I'm buying
Tangent.
Fernando Mendoza. Yes.
It's like a multiverse timeline for Marvel.
Yeah, my thought process is not linear whatsoever. That's a me problem.
No, I like it, man. I like it a lot. I think Mendoza is going to be. We just talked about how Kamara is key. So we did overlap a little bit. We had 2 Indiana guys on there. I think Mendoza's huge for this team. Everything starts and ends with a quarterback. If they can get even better production out of a position that was already a stat sheet stuffer last year, they're going to have a much better chance against this schedule. And you're not maybe knocking on the door of 8-4. Maybe you're hitting 10-2. Hell, maybe you're getting 11-1 again. I don't know. We'll see what they do. Apparently, though, the Indiana fans do not think the matchup with Illinois is that important or big of a matchup because they're going to kick their ass. And I'm like, pump the brakes, homies. That's going to be one hell of a matchup.
All right, guys.
Not all Indiana fans, but a majority of the ones who commented on that post. I'm like, guys, settle down.
It's Twitter, man.
It's a fantastic game.
It's Twitter.
All right, I'm trying to decide who I want to go next. I'm going to go. This is the one I think we could overlap on. Coy Parrish.
Oh, I did not mention that.
All right, so we're not going to overlap then. Coy Parrish, we loved him last year. I believe in spring, we tried to make it known to the whole 5 listeners we had as a brand new show that you should know the name Coy Parrish. And then we talked about it with Ryan Burns, Coy Parrish, and how much he could factor in. And I think he factored more into the team last year than anybody even thought he was going to do. He's now a second-year starter at safety. He's likely going to be he's not going to be first team All Big Ten, barring injury. It's going to be Caleb Downs. Dylan Thieneman's going to be there. Kamari Ramsey's there. But he's vying for a second to third team All Big Ten here. He's just a name that you guys need to continue to know. Write it down. Bookmark it. He came off 46 tackles last year, 3 TFLs, 3 pass defended. 1 forced fumble. Count them, 5 interceptions for a freshman. 5 interceptions. Kid is a stud. He contributes in the return game. I believe I always botch his Twitter name, but Ahil Obabwa. He's a guy from Minnesota we interact with. He's expecting even more in the return game for Koi this year. So keep your name on him. Keep your eye on his name. Buy as much stock as you can. Koi Parrish.
I am buying against my better judgment.
Don't fucking do it.
Shout out Jeffrey the Greek.
God damn it, Ryan.
I'm buying the Iowa offense.
Fuck! We overlapped.
I knew it. I knew we would have.
Damn it. All right, you start first.
So we talked about Gronowski in the quarterback episode. I'm exceptionally fascinated to see how he fits into this offense as a thrower and a runner. That feels kind of like what Tim Lester wants to do with his offense. Kind of the, I don't want to call it the best of both worlds between what they had at quarterback last year because they just didn't really have anything at quarterback last year. But you at least get the legs of Brendan Sullivan with hopefully a more competent thrower of the football.
Oh my God, I hope.
The Caleb Johnson losing him sucks because that was a horse, but you should still be able to replicate most of that production with Kamari Malton and Jason Patterson coming back. X Factor I'm looking at, I think I've seen Jeff mention.
Don't say his name.
Reese Vanderzee.
Damn it.
God.
You're reading off my damn sheet.
We did not consult on this at all beforehand, which is why this is funny. This is so funny. So 14 catches, 3 touchdowns last year. He's a big dude. He got hurt midseason, and he did not play a game after the 19th of September. So deflated stat line for him was because of injury. Also looking at Jacob Gill in the receiver room, he was okay against Missouri in their bowl game. 3 catches, 29 yards. Had a big game against UCLA late in the season when they were playing a not quarterback at quarterback. 6 catches, 138 yards. So there is some talent out wide. I'm excited to see how much talent out wide now that they hopefully have somebody who can actually throw the football for the first time in 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, 12 years. I'm exaggerating now, but I'm sorry. I feel like I just ruined your night.
Stole my thunder. My heart is shattered.
That's funny. That's
Jeff,
funny.
if you're listening to this, man, we're loving on your Iowa Hawkeyes. This was
funny.
my longest paragraph that I have for written on my sheet
Honestly,
for who I'm buying this year.
I think I subconsciously still have not gotten over that I had them as a playoff dark horse last year, and then they completely.
We both did, and then they kicked us in the ass for it.
Yeah.
It was the Iowa State game. They blew that one, and it just kind of effed it all up.
Yep.
Yes, I am with Ryan. Buy your stock on the Iowa offense. People are still laughing about Iowa and their offense on social media, on podcasts. Like, you guys better go read the stats because it's not the same team. You're getting year 2 of Tim Lester. You already mentioned Mark Gronowski. Feels like the best quarterback they've had in years. He's got the dynamic ability, which you mentioned. I think that's huge to help replace Caleb Johnson. Even if your backs aren't going to be as good, having a quarterback who can move and have escapability is extremely important. Ryan mentioned Reese Vanderzee. I was reading an article by David Eichholt. I forget the Iowa something. Iowa Gazette, maybe he writes for, but listed him as a breakout candidate at wide receiver. He's 6'4", 205 in 2024, Ryan. He's added 15 pounds this offseason, so he's now 6'4", if he hasn't grown anymore, 220. That is a monster.
That's a lot of man.
At wide receiver. And in an interview with him, he talked about he just wanted to add the weight so he could kind of handle the physicality of the Big Ten a little more. You want to know a fun stat, Ryan? You didn't have this in your stock watch. He was the first true freshman to start for Iowa since 2022. And the first receiver, I botched this one. I think it was the first receiver in a longer period of time with that. So let's dive into the stats, though. Why should we buy into them? What is the change? So in 2024, they averaged 27.7 points per game. That's up from a measly 15.4 points per game in 2023. So they went from 132nd in the country to 72nd. The offense averaged 328.8 yards per game in 2024. That being split of 197.2 rushing to 131.6 passing. So pathetic on passing, but dominant in the rush game because of Caleb Johnson. That is up, though. 328.8 is up from 234 yards per game in 2023. I'm going to maybe next Monday we'll do a bold predictions episode, but I'm going to call one right now. I expect them to push 200 yards passing per game this year. Rushing is going to drop down to about 150. That's going to give them an average of 350 yards per game. And that doesn't seem like a lot to people, right? That's an addition of 25 yards per game. But when you look at what they were the previous years, it was horrible. So the fact that they could push 350 in an offense that now has a viable quarterback, again, here I am drinking the Kool-Aid that Iowa is a dark horse playoff contender, probably to only stub my toe again. So my fun piece here, though, Ryan, I have a question for you, trivia question. Ryan, can you name the last time an Iowa offense averaged over 350 yards per game? Can you name the year?
2013.
No, 2020.
No.
But if you want a full season, it was 2019, 366 and a half yards per game in 2019, 368.6 during COVID. But the reason I put that is because that surprised me too. I was like, God, I'm gonna have to go back 2 decades on this sheet to find the last time they broke 350, and it was only 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Nice. So it's not as bad as people think. It was just that 2021 to 2023, it was just abysmal. I mean, getting to 15.4 points per game and 234 yards a game is absolutely pathetic. But push your chips in, buy the Iowa offense stock. It's going to get even better. Don't steal my next one, Ryan. I have 2 left. Do not take one.
Oh, well, you said you're not selling anything, so we're not going to overlap.
Yay!
Are you? Because I'm just selling now.
Okay, good.
This one might be a hot take. I'm selling the Oregon offense.
Oh, man. You're going to make me want to clip that. People are going to get pissed off. Why are you selling the Oregon offense, Ryan?
A lot of it has to do with the Evan Stewart injury. That I know. I quoted it.
Listen, you rode his ass pretty hard last year because of his former 5-star pedigree that he'd done nothing in college.
I was say, if you're got a senior in college and we're still talking about you as a 5-star prospect, you aren't a good football player. And I don't know if I would call his last season underwhelming. It wasn't fantastic.
It wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, 48 catches, 613 yards, 5 touchdowns. There was certainly a room for him to take a big step forward this year with Tez Johnson leaving, but we're, again, talking about a former 5-star player who has had every opportunity in the world to produce, and that, I think, was his best stat line so far in college. Actually, he had a better stat line as a freshman at Texas A&M, so scratch that. So that's a big loss for sure. You couple that with the fact that you've also lost Jordan James. You've also lost Tez Johnson.
Dylan Gabriel.
Terrence Ferguson.
Offensive lineman.
Trayshawn Holden. Offensive lineman. That's a lot to come off of the roster. I know they've recruited well. I know Dante Moore is a highly touted, highly skilled quarterback, but again, as we talked about last time, I still can't shake how he looked as a freshman at UCLA. Say what you want about that situation, but 9 interceptions and 213 attempts is not fantastic. He's going to have to shake that for sure. I just don't know how sold I am on the pieces around him. I love the Hughes pickup from Tulane, but we are talking about a team that paid a shitload of money to try to pry him from Tulane after they tried to pay a shitload of money to try and pry Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame. They clearly don't think that they had a number 1 running back in that room. And I think that's topical given what you posted on the Twitter today about comparing the running back rooms of Washington and Oregon. Why did you try to poach 2 number 1 running backs if you were very confident in your depth?
Washington didn't have to because they have a true number 1 running back.
Right. So I like the Hughes addition. I think he's a very good number 1 back. But again, we're talking about a guy who's making a jump from Tulane to now the Big Ten. Maybe Noah Whittington takes a big step forward this year, but I was not particularly
Got to stay healthy
with him. Got to stay healthy, and we watched them against Purdue. I was not particularly impressed with him last year, especially when you compare him to Jordan James. Like that side-by-side comparison, it was very, very evident the difference in those 2 players. But I've seen some hype for Kenyon Sadiq being a potential first-round pick tight end this year, so that's a good
To
good.
quote our boy Dale's last article, 22 miles an hour is top speed.
He's a
That is
very,
a
very,
fast tight end.
very, very, very good athlete. But I mean, your top 4 pass catchers and your top rusher and your top passer from last year's team are all gone.
Yep.
That's very difficult to overcome.
Yep.
I like the Decorian more as a prospect. I don't know that he's quite on the Jeremiah Smith level, and I don't think it's fair to expect him to make that
No, he's not
same
even
type
close in
of
size, right?
right. I don't think that's fair to expect him to make that type of impact, especially now that you don't have a guy like Evan Stewart to take a little bit of attention away from him. So I'm just curious to see how this passing attack comes together. Is it, a tight end heavy focused attack with Sadiq? Is someone like Jeremiah McClellan or Justice Lowe making a big step forward? I don't know. I don't know. That there's a lot of there feels like a lot of questions that we don't necessarily have ready answers to on this Oregon offense, and I'm not selling them as a playoff contender. I think they have enough talent on the offensive side of the ball to make it work, and their defense should still be pretty good, but I don't think that it's going to be an offense that's on the level that we've seen the last 3 years with Dan Lanning.
And I think the last time we saw their defense was not a pretty sight.
No, that game
Not
was
a pretty
over.
sight.
That game was over in 15 minutes.
And you don't think people aren't going to take that Ohio State? Again, I know they don't have Jeremiah Smith. Having the tools Ohio State has
Well,
is
yeah,
unique, but that teams can't somewhat try to replicate. Now, again, the flip side of that,
No,
Oregon should be able to try to
Quentin,
counter it. But
what you need as an offense is you need 2 second-round picks at running back, the best wide receiver who's played college football since probably Calvin Johnson, another guy who went in the first round, another guy who's going to go in the first round this year, and a really good offensive line. That's all you need to do that to Oregon.
Yep.
So much easier said than done.
But Oregon did, they might have to lean on the defense early. Dylan Theodore, we saw what happened with him last year. It took a couple games. Boise State damn near clipped him at Oregon.
True.
What was it? Idaho almost got him. Took him through a stressful period. Or Idaho State, one of the two. One of the Idahos. So I don't know. I have a lot of faith in Dan Lanning, Will Stein. It's such a quarterback-friendly offense. We talked about the Bo Nix thing multiple times. It completed, 35% of his passes were behind the line of scrimmage. Dump off King. And then Dylan Gabriel kind of proved me wrong when I called him Duncan Dillon. He was able to throw down the field. Props to him. But I don't know. I think you might be onto something there. All right, the next one I'm buying is I'm going to buy Big Ten depth. I've already mentioned this year when we did our power rankings. I think it's a deeper league in 2025. Is it the SEC? No, I don't know if they're quite that level of competitiveness between each other, but I think it's deeper. I feel like there's 3 locks for the playoffs. I think we can generally guess who those are: Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, if you had to pick. But there's a lot of other teams who have potential to worm into the playoffs or cause some chaos in the Big Ten this year. So in total, I think they got 10 to 11 teams deep this year. Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, Illinois, USC, Washington, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan. All viable players. I know you sold your Michigan, but if Bryce Underwood's a hit and they have something in the receiver room and their defense doesn't fall off a cliff, if they're 10-2, they're going to be sniffing a playoff. We just talked about Iowa. If Minnesota, that one might be a bigger stretch from the standpoint we don't know exactly, but if Drake Lindsey hits and gets off to a faster start than Max Brosmer did, Minnesota's got a chance to make noise. They could go into the horseshoe and knock off Ohio State. They get a chance. They draw Nebraska on October 17th at home. That could be a huge game. You could cause a lot of chaos in there. So I think just in general, the Big Ten on the whole is deeper. And again, they'll get shit on when multiple of their teams are 8-4. They see they're not that good. I'm like, well, they're just on a similar level. And so I'm buying stock on Big Ten depth in 2025.
See, you also can't shit on 8-4 Big Ten teams when you're sitting there and pumping up 5-7 Auburn.
Absolutely.
So
just so Alabama's win looks better at 9-3.
They're so talented. I don't care.
Yep.
I truly don't care.
Absolutely agree.
Are you going to make me say I don't care with a bunch of swear words for the second time in 2 episodes?
I don't know. Are you?
I don't care. My last one, I'm holding cautiously, optimistically, my Drew Aller stock.
Okay.
I don't know what to do with this because Our last vision of Drew Aller was him throwing a duck that ended more or less Penn State season. I don't think he was particularly great in that game. The physical tools are there for sure, undoubtedly. How many wow moments have we had from Drew Aller though in 2 years?
He had one last year in a really tight window he fit in against Oregon at the Big Ten Championship
There we go.
that can 100% think of. It was just on the move, fucking absolute dart between multiple defenders. But the other thing, Ryan, when I think of Drew Aller in throws that comes to my mind are couldn't hit the deep ball 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and the horrendous throw we made against Notre Dame to seal the game last year.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that come to my mind first. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like that thought about the Big Ten's top quarterback. I
No,
think he
and
has all the talent in the world, but I should be thinking of big time plays he's made.
mm-hmm.
He didn't do anything against Ohio State when they hosted him at home last year.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
So this is kind of my foil to our. I don't know if I would call it effusive praise of calling him the best quarterback in the Big Ten, which almost felt like he's the best quarterback in the Big Ten by default right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say that to disparage him. I think he's a very good player. People were talking about him as being a first round pick if he came out this year. I think he's going to go into this season as, if not the surefire quarterback one in preseason mock drafts, he's going to be heavily in the conversation for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the early season mock drafts you're going to see, you're going to have Drew Aller in the top 10. There's not, like, this is do or die for him. Like, there's nothing after this for you, bud. You're going to the NFL. There's no excuses. They've revamped your receiver room. You have weapons now. Maybe not like elite Jeremiah Smith weapons, but I like the addition of Trebor Pena from Syracuse. That was a great spring portal addition for them. On top of
Hudson.
Hudson from USC and Devontae Ross from Troy. I think we kind of talked about this with Penn State a couple weeks ago. Like, I don't like Devontae Ross as your number two. I think his first name's Devontae. I hope his first name's Devontae, or else I fucked that one up. But now that he's three, or like a 2B,
Mm-hmm.
because you got some guys on the outside who can make plays, that's a lot more of an attractive wide receiver room now.
Yeah.
Losing Tyler Warren hurts for sure.
Huge.
But, I mean, is it kind of, I don't want to, fuck, this sounds ridiculous to say out loud, but is it a good thing for his overall development because he doesn't have that cheat code now where it's just
Mm-hmm.
like Will Howard last year? Fuck it, Jeremiah Smith's down there somewhere. Fuck it, Tyler Warren's down there somewhere. You actually have to go through your progressions and you have to formulate trust with your other guys. It can't just be this, I'm forsaking everyone else because Tyler Warren can do everything. You have to find
Literally everything. Snap the ball,
Literally.
throw the ball, run the ball.
literally everything. So I think that's something that maybe it looks a little. I mean, even if it looks a little funky early, it doesn't matter because Penn State doesn't play a real football game until October.
Oregon.
Yeah, I guess that's the last week of September. They don't play a real football game in the first month of the
Will they
season.
play Villanova? That'll be a tough one. Oh, this is football, not basketball. Never
right.
mind.
So they have time to work it out. I think that's going to be good for his overall development, but this is a big year, not just for Drew, but for Penn State as well. Like,
Absolutely. That's what I was gonna come back with.
I
Was
think
huge for Franklin and Penn State.
so. I wonder, and this is me making my perverse hockey fandom part of this podcast, but I wonder if Penn State doesn't do. I'm not even saying win a national title this year, but if you're spinning your wheels, you lose to Ohio State or Oregon again, you don't win the Big Ten. Maybe you win a playoff game, but you don't get any further. You crap out in the semifinals or the quarterfinals again. Do Penn State fans get to a point where the Dallas Stars were with their head coach, where despite making the Western Conference Finals 3 games in a row, they say, we've seen our ceiling with you. This is not good enough. This is great. These are champagne problems. There's a bunch of other teams that would love to be in our position, but we just don't think you're the guy who can get us over the hump. And do they not like fire him, but are they like give him the little kick, nudge, like, hey man, you should look for another job type of thing?
You could.
I'm not saying that's going to happen, but again, I'm thinking out loud.
Grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence. You
think-
could be much worse.
To complete this analogy, what would probably need to happen is if Drew Aller throws a late game interception in the playoff game, James Franklin would then need to throw him under the bus in the post game press conference and then back said bus over him and talk about how he's shitty in playoff games and throws interceptions like the Stars coach did with their goalie. Anyway, I'm glad I was able to bring that full circle for my fanhood, talking about the Dallas Stars on this podcast. Somebody please shoot me.
Listen, I have since our first February episode that we talked about, or maybe it was in March. I think it's natty or bust for Penn State this year. You got to win it. Michigan did it first. Ohio State did it last year. You've got to win it all this
See,
year. I
I'm
don't think it's
so
good enough to make it and lose.
no, and that's why I'm really excited to talk to Matt Flip about this for our Penn State preview in a couple of weeks because we had a similar conversation with him last year, and I feel like he had a very measured response. And I think I would assume, if I remember correctly, they met expectations last year
Absolutely, if not overachieved.
based on what he said. And I just wonder, like, Penn State fans, if you're listening, maybe let us know in the Twitter mentions that I don't look at what you think, like, what a success would be this year, or what's the bare minimum you would accept for this to be a successful season. Because I'm with you. I don't like I don't like the playoffization of college football where we talk about the sport as if you don't make the playoff, then your season was a failure. Because I think there's so many levels to it, but with where Penn State has been and what they've brought back and what they've invested in that program from a monetary standpoint, it very much feels like they're trying to replicate the Michigan Ohio State playbook. And if they don't see it through the way that those two teams did previous to them, then it would feel almost kind of like a wasted season.
I concur.
But
I think it's gonna be great.
that's not my place to tell them. Like if Penn, maybe there are a portion of Penn State fans who'd be like, "Yeah, we made it to the national title game, and maybe we lost to a team that became a Death Star as the season went on." And sometimes
That
shit happens.
when I posted that a while ago, that was the general response. You got to at least make the natty. They didn't say win it. They said you got to make it.
I think that's.
I think if they make it, they can live with it. But it stings a lot more when you make it and lose.
Oh sure, yes,
That hurts a lot
thank
because you
you
knew
for
you were good enough to
fucking-
be.
Thank you for fucking reminding me.
Listen, man, I watched '06 Ohio State and '07 Ohio State get there. I didn't think Florida had a chance in '06, and Urban Meyer walked in here and beat the living shit out of them. High school me was so brokenhearted. All right, speaking of Ohio State, I had to buy stock in a Buckeye, right? We've already mentioned this guy a couple times on here. Max Clare. Buy the stock. He was a lone stud for I couldn't describe or give you a good enough adjective to describe Purdue last year.
Booty.
Booty cheeks Purdue in 2024. So his stat line last year, 51 catches, 685 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had 51 receptions, Ryan. That's 51 of the total 189 completions they had as a team last year. He had 320 yards more than Purdue's second leading pass catcher, Jamal Edrin, at 365. The next highest in receptions behind Mr. Clare was Deron Tibbs at 25. So he more than doubled the yardage, essentially, and he more than doubled the receptions. He's going to be huge and very pivotal in the Ohio State offense this year, especially because they're breaking in a new quarterback. Whether it's Sayan or Keenholz, it doesn't matter. He gives them an ultra-reliable target in the middle of the field. And what it also helps prevent defenses from just focusing all in on Jeremiah Smith or all in on Smith and Tate, because you're going to have somebody in the middle of the field that's just going to eat up targets and sit there and, like I said, just be reliable. So I think Max Clare is a guy people need to be aware of. He is given stats and production that we want to talk about, not 5-star billing or 4-star billing. He's probably the best tight end right now in the Big Ten. I don't know any other ones that would be above him without seeing the season play. But coming into the year, probably the top tight end in the Big Ten. And he's going to play in one of the most powerful offenses in college football. So that can only benefit him. If he could be a team leading receiver on the worst team in college football last year, now he's going to one of the best, or at least perceived best, talent-wise. He's going to have a pretty good season. So I think you could find some times why to buy this is Clare making key catches and runs after catch that Ohio State tight ends previously haven't done. And there's only been one player award, Ryan, that Ohio State has never won, and that is the Mackey. Max Clare gives them a legit shot to accomplish this goal if things go right for this team. So push some chips in on Max Clare. He's kind of a fantastic year. I would not be surprised if he eclipses the 685 yards. I don't know about receptions. He's going to have to be close, right, to be able to get more than that, but I could see him in the 800, 850 range. I don't know what you need to win the Mackey. Probably need to break 1,000 or just have a shit ton of touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily 1,000. I mean, it just depends on.
Yeah. Probably your utilization, right? I mean, I don't know. Are they grading you how well tight end blocks or you're just looking at their receiving stats? So, but Max Clare, buy your stock. That it for you, Ryan?
That's it for me.
That is it for me as well. So again, guys, check us out on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, /X, ITP, CFP. Give us a follow there. And then please check us out on the YouTube and Spotify, Amazon, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. Check us out. Hit follow. Leave us a review, please, to help us grow the show. We are getting very near. I think we are 2 weeks away from our fall preview starting. 2 weeks and change. We're looking to get at least 2 that week of 4th of July, given it's just such a busy week for everybody with the holiday, and then we'll steadily ramp up from there. And we look forward to doing that for you guys again this year. Hopefully we can swing 19 for 19 again. Would be one hell of a feat to then go, 38 and 38 in 2 years?
Yeah,
Be pretty impressive.
if we did it last year, we can definitely do it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a lot easier. People respond a lot more quickly when you have over 1,000 followers and
True.
don't have 10.
That's true.
Hey, you want to come on my podcast? It's only existed for 2 months.
Yeah, well,
Sure.
we got the 1,000 followers plus 900 million tweets now, so that it's not just like a
Yeah.
joke
So-
account.
And we're affiliated with people now.
I mean, we are kind of a joke account, but that's just me speaking personally.
All right. That is it for me, Ryan.
What the fuck are we doing next week?
Next week, I would like to do some bold predictions.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
Let's do
everyone,
some bold predictions. Cap
you
us
for-
off for our trying to buy time until we get to fall previews.
Alrighty. And then we're taking the 30th off? Are we doing something on 30th? I don't.
I maybe aim to take the 30 off. We'll see. We might have to squeeze an episode in there to get to that week.
All right. Cool. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know next week. Thank you, everyone, once again for joining Inside the Pylon, a Midwest College Football podcast. For Clinton, I am Ryan. Hopefully my back feels better at some time soon. Getting old sucks. Don't age. Thank you. Bye.
Deuces.